Hi, welcome to Tech Entrepreneur. In today's episode, we're talking to David Dillon, founder at URocked. URocked solve a unique problem that's happened over the last few years. How do you tip people without having cash? We're going to find out more in this episode. So David, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So first off, I want to hear about what is URocked? What's the problem you're trying to solve with your business?
So URocked is a platform that is a 21st century way of tipping, basically. So with the decline in cash, the new rules and regulations that are coming into effect for hospitality in terms of taking tips, business owners keeping the tips and not handing them out to staff, URocked stops that. It's a platform that allows a customer to tip anyone, anywhere, without an employer getting involved. The only time an employer ever needs to be involved is just to give the go-ahead to say, yeah, we're happy to have it in our premise.
Fantastic. And as let's say a user of these services,
yeah,
I've often, especially in the last year or so, either felt guilty or my wife has made me feel guilty because I didn't have any cash to tip. You know, I think we got a Chinese delivered the other week. Yeah. No cash to tip.
And that's a big problem. And you're even talking about delivery. A lot of people prior to COVID never thought about delivery drivers. They didn't think about other workers that could also benefit from being tipped, or low-income workers. It was always more hair and beauty, or you go to a restaurant, you leave a tip. It's not like America here yet. It's still quite underdeveloped, the tipping market. Whereas America, everyone gets tipped, and that's because that goes towards their salaries and their earnings, and it's the norm. So I think COVID has accelerated the different types of people that we should be tipping and we should be saying thank you to. Mm-hmm. So whether it's your delivery driver, it could be your Amazon driver, your hairdresser, your waiter, waitress, a gardener, a window cleaner, anyone that offers you a service that has gone that extra mile, then let's give them a tip.
Yeah, definitely. I could see the almost gap that's been left behind with the cashless society.
Yeah, cashless has accelerated it. Yeah. There was a big problem prior to it being cashless, which is when we've all had it. You go into a restaurant and you say, "Can I leave a tip on a card?" This is the first one. Yeah, of course you can. Actually, do you get this tip? Well, kind of, but sometimes I'm not sure. I'm not really sure how it gets worked out, but I get a bit of it. Yeah. So that's the first one.
So a bit of their good service, they maybe get something.
Exactly. Yeah. Second one is, yes, we get all of it. It all gets split between us. The next is, no, we don't get it. It goes all to the business. I had this recently. I was in a...
Is that not illegal? Or is it?
It's not illegal at the moment.
Wow.
Which is why it's just been passed in government. So It's going to become illegal in September.
Okay.
There's big businesses doing it. I was in Bill's restaurant recently, which is I think you get them in Scotland as well, maybe. They're a big chain of quite upmarket food, but more of a fast food, but still upmarket, nice food. Breakfast, lunches, dinners.
For us, that's probably Greg's or something like that.
Yeah. You're right. And I was in there and I said to her, "Do you get your tips?" And she said, "No, they go to Bill on his yacht." And that's even today now. There's various other venues, restaurants. Pizza Express were a big thing. They had a big news PR crash about them keeping their staff tips. And these are staff that are earning, if they're under, let's say 18, they're earning £6 an hour, £6.50 an hour, and they're running around giving people their food and, taking a lot of abuse sometimes as well, because maybe a meal's been bad. Maybe the chef's messed up on the meal. Yeah. It's his fault. But that staff member's still trying to please that customer, make them happy and make them leave feeling, okay, my meal wasn't great, but they sorted it out and rectified it.
Yeah.
And then let's leave a tip, let's give them the service charge, but they're not getting it. It's going in the people above's pockets. So that's kind of that issue with it. And then there's the fact of, you go into a restaurant or bar and you say, "Can I leave a tip on a card?" And they say no. Okay, why? Because restaurants, the ethical ones, know about this, and if they're a smaller chain, they can't afford the software systems that go behind it. And there's lots of complex tax laws and legislations. So they said, "You know what, we're just not going to take tips on card, but you can have cash tips." Obviously now you can't. There's a huge decline in cash now as we become more and more a cashless society. I don't ever think we will be a fully cashless society, but I think it's stepping in a way where more and more people will not have cash on them.
So it's, at least from what I understand, it's kind of like a growing, catalyst. The catalyst has came with COVID. Hopefully COVID's going to go away and just never come back again.
Correct.
But that catalyst, things won't go back to the same levels of cash society we had before.
And COVID is one area where it's been accelerated in terms of tipping, but I say about a cashless society, I mean, we've been going on that trend anyway for the last few years, whether it be, from a contactless debit card. So you went from signature to doing this, to punching it, then to tapping it, then to actually you don't need your card now, throw it away, just take your mobile with you.
Yeah.
You don't need your mobile now, just take your watch with you.
Right. Yeah.
So more and more instances we are becoming a cashless society, especially with certain demographics. There's going to be demographics that are going to be less acceptable to it and want to have everything kind of within their banks. There's still people that like to carry around cash with them. There's lots of places that are just refusing cash. And that's been in London. In London, lots of hospitality businesses have stopped taking cash over the last few years anyway, prior to COVID, because of the amount of dodgy banknotes and stuff like that they were getting. And for a small business to keep, taking those on, it's huge for them. It's a huge loss. So do you know what? One way of cutting that out is we don't take cash.
Even just a hygiene point of view, it always sticks with me as a kid when I'd be like playing about with money and my dad's wallet or something like that, and then your mum checks over.
Hygiene,
wash your hands.
Hygiene, safety, from a security point of view, there's lots of it. So when you think about it, cash is, compared to where we are in the 21st century, we don't need cash anymore, do we really? So, but we need to have facilities available that replicate cash for certain things that we're given, and that's kind of where URocked comes in. So we can deal that with tipping.
Brilliant.
At an affordable.
So it sounds like there's definitely the problem, the movement to kind of resolve the problem. But where does that start for you with URocked? How did it all begin?
So my mum owns a hospitality business in London. This is the first area of it, and I'll be completely honest with you. So there was one time I went there and I saw her, and she's working out the tips for all her staff, and she took them on credit card, debit cards, and she's putting it all out. I'm going, this is taking you ages. You have to work it out on a monthly basis, how many hours that those staff members have worked, and divide it all up, and then how much cash, how much went through the credit card machine. And then I'm starting to think, I understand credit card machines, but you're paying for that by taking that tip on a card. And then she's putting it, because she's not using a proper system, it's going through her tills. So then automatically she's paying VAT on those tips, not even realising. Then she's paying employees' contributions on putting them through their payroll and everything else. But as a small business owner, she's not aware of that. She's not an accountant. She feels she's doing a good thing and it's costing her some money. So that was kind of option one where it first got in my head about tipping. And then when COVID hit, to be completely honest with you, I thought, right, there's lots of things now that are going to be affected with cash. What can I do around this area and still make a viable business, make some money, but actually helps people as well at the same time? And that's where I put two and two together. So the tipping element and lack of cash.
Wow.
And then that's kind of when we went from there, did the research on it. So looking at what was currently out there on the market, kind of trying to understand the complex laws and legislations around tipping. The national insurance contributions laws. So it is, even the legislation around tipping and an employee receiving it is so outdated, it's unbelievable. And that's kind of where the journey started. So it came from an idea and then slowly developed. We had a prototype done from just a guy that did it kind of on an XD for me so I could see it. And it was very, very rough. And then I had someone in Mexico put something a bit better together so I could actually prove the concept with a merchant just like Stripe, just plugged in on the developer mode to check it could work. Then it kind of developed and developed and developed, and then I suddenly thought this is going to need a lot of money to do this and do it the right way, and how can we do it in an ethical way where we're protecting people and our members, and effectively we're a software platform that facilitates a transaction from one person to the next. So how can we do this in a way that our app won't be used for crime and things like that?
Yeah.
So it was putting all those pieces together. So
Good.
it took about, I'd say about 20 months to go from initial thought process, brand, and then through to kind of a MVP, which is quite fast, I've heard.
Yeah, yeah. And how did you come up with the brand and name? That was the thing that stood out to me before I knew about the problem. Was I was kind of drawn towards the name and the brand. I thought it looked like amazing. You know, it's like a platform that would take off.
Yeah. So one was a whiteboard. So I had a load. I can't even think of a lot of the names now. But the original ones were, you know, with the word tip in and thanks and gratitude and then I thought, do you know, how can this is a platform and a business that could be used in different markets, not just in the UK. It can be used in America. It can be used over Europe. So what sort of name can I use that one, people understand, that have a slight understanding of the English language, but even if they don't, it's still quite easy to pronounce, to say, to use, a bit like Google, right? Mm-hmm. Google's kind of their made-up term. Yes, we've used words that are within the dictionary, I suppose, mm-hmm. but also a word and a way where we can say that you did a great job, mm-hmm. Which is where URocked came from. So that's eventually where we got to. What can I use in different countries that can be used as a brand anywhere and resonate not just on, it may not just be for food or hospitality or hair, but as I said, it can go into different industries as well.
Yeah.
And in terms of the branding, I've got some good designers and told them the colours and my vision. And like anything, you go from stages, right? So you go, yeah, that looks good. And then you change it and you tweak it and it develops. I mean, our first logo was, it was like a hand like this with a U, with like a URocked, because we thought, yeah, that'd be really cool. And
yeah. But
then we thought, is it really? It's a bit cheap.
Yeah.
And then we started looking more down the fintech route. What looks trusting? Mm-hmm. And going down that side, you know, something that's it doesn't have to be that play and everything needs to be fun. You know, we are a serious platform, mm-hmm. and we want people to be able to trust us when they're sending money through our platform and receiving it.
Yeah, that trust and safety. So
yeah, really and that's where we think we've got to with it. So
great. And in terms of people that are thinking about, you know, they maybe know there's a specific problem in a sector, or that sort of thing, but taking it from just idea to where you are now. Did you have help? Was there a kind of founding team or anything like that? So
there's various people that, you know, had insight into it, and even friends, and how we started off. You have to. So we have a founding team behind us, which all of my founding team is still there now, mm-hmm. And they still work very hard with us. You know, some of them work for free, like me, and others are on the payroll as well because they've got families and stuff. But they are instrumental to where we are now and to where I believe the success will be. Mm-hmm.
So was it kind of like looking to your network, your contacts, your friends?
It was network, contacts, friends, but it gets hard. So, you know, especially when I've always had this entrepreneurial spirit, and I want to do this business and that business. I never liked school, you know, so, you know, I started off hairdressing, believe it or not. And then I went into a sales job and I started learning my craft from there. But then I thought, you know what, I can do this and I can earn more money. Mm. And so I went, oh, do you know what, I'm going to open up a trade association. So I left, started a trade association. I had no belief in a trade association. I didn't have passion for trade association. I just thought money. Mm-hmm. This guy that owns a trade association is driving a really nice car. I can do that and earn the same money. Mm-hmm. But you don't put the work ethic in, do you? If you don't have passion for it, you don't do it. Yeah. So then I did it with a couple of online, and that kind of to and fro from being employed to then go do a couple of e-commerce sites. And I think they're all right, but I can't be bothered with them now. Yeah. And then I kept thinking to myself, why? And obviously this has taken me 12 years probably to kind of understand and learn the failings of what I had done previously. And it's because I didn't have passion for any of those products. I didn't believe in it. All I was looking at is that person's making money from that. I can do that. So it's like the end goal sort of thing, yeah. Not the day-to-day. Rather than saying I'm building something that's making a difference and making a change. Yeah. And then you kind of really get into the product and you understand it and you become, I believe, one of the best in the industry that we're in. You know, we've got competitors, but we know, all of the team know everything about it. But going back to your question about, so then with this, compared to anything else I've done, you're going to friends, and I've built a stronger network over the years. This needs more than just someone helping me with, doing a logo. This needs PR. So I, go to PR contacts of mine and say, look, I've got this, can you help me? Again, being a bit naive, I've got no money. But if you can do it for free until we fundraise, then I'll give you a budget. And then once we hit that budget, I'll pay you the fees. But I didn't really understand a huge amount about PR. So you end up having, these are friends or acquaintances that you could call friends. But then when you fundraise and you get the bill, you go, one, okay, that isn't what I agreed to. And two, what have you done for your money?
Yeah.
So then you have a bit of a conflict, and it's a difficult one, because you think, I like this person. They're also connected to my other friends I know. Yeah. And I don't want to seem like we've just done something and not to pay you, because it's not the case. But we're also a startup, and we're trying to do something. And whether or not we have £1 million in the bank or £50,000 in the bank, I don't believe what you're billing me for, even if you weren't my friend or I didn't know you as an acquaintance, is justified. So then you have a discussion, and it can end up being, someone's going to lose out at the end of it. So yes, I think using your network is good, but again, I've learned lessons from how you do it. From me, even from when we spoke to you originally, you were part of our team that would potentially develop this product for us. However, you guys were very honest about timelines, budget, where we were, what we wanted, and we went with a different company. But then we came back because it was a different deal on the table, because we knew that you were interested in the product, you liked the product, the team. So it's finding that balance that works for everybody. Yeah,
so especially when you're going to when you're trying to outsource a function of your business. Like I've made a mistake many a time outsourcing stuff like that I'm not specifically good at, like tech. Like say if I'm going to outsource stuff like marketing or sales, it's really difficult to know, right? It's difficult to know. You get burnt a few times and you start gaining an understanding over, actually, wait, they're a warning bell. Okay, let me learn from that.
And you think, do you know what? I've got a friend that does that. And you go, do you know what? I'll get my friend to do it, and he'll give me a really, really good price. Or what I've learned, it's not about price, right? You can get your friend to do it who's going to give you a good price, but they're not going to get you where you need to go, probably. Sometimes you've just got to, put your hand in your pocket and, just fight to bring more money in once you've spent it on avenues where you need to. Tech, for example, any tech developed, I believe, in this country is not cheap. Going to agencies and consultants is not cheap. But what you get, rather than me trying to hire these tech people myself in-house, where I can probably save 50% on salaries, I don't know what I'm hiring. I don't know whether these people are going to be any good, whether they're going to gel as a team. So I could hire 5 people and lose a load of money because they're going to go, nah, actually, this isn't for me, or I can't do that. I don't know how to do that. And I go, well, you could have told me that when I hired you. If you didn't ask me that question, because I'm not from a tech CTO background. So I knew from A to C. I didn't know this bit in the middle. So which is why, if I go to a consultancy or contractors or a firm, you've already got those staff, you've got that core team, those people you believe in, you've trusted. That's where your huge risk was at the beginning, is who do we get in? This team that's going to stay with us, the skill set that they've got. We don't have that. And that's where the investment comes in. That's where you invest. I believe, our biggest spend and investment from the money we've raised, the money I've been put in personally, has been in technology. But the technology is our business, so it has to be good. And the way I think about the technology side of it is it's like a team of like athletes. Like take the baton race. They've all got to run together previously, know how to pass to each other, so you get the best outcome and result that the business wants. But I've seen it in lots of places. Even when I was working for a company and I was trying to grow teams where you're bringing in more and more people, but you're more and more accountable for them. And you're more responsible. So the business is putting pressure and deliver more, better quality, faster. And then you're like, but ultimately it's fallen to me just to keep hiring. And it's like, I'm not scalable at that kind of level, So my core team really was understanding, okay, one, I need people to build this vision with me. I'm not a designer. Again, I can work Photoshop or an Illustrator, but I can't create a design from a blank piece of paper. Okay, I'm not an artist. So it was, okay, who do I know within my network that can do this to a really high standard? Where are they now? What are they doing? And can I afford them? Can I bring them in somehow, or beg them to come on board in one way or another, whether it's half salary for a little bit, part-time, then moving up. Mm-hmm. And then, so there's that area covered. Then it was, who do I know that, or who have I been introduced to that can run the project internally? So work with developers, putting all of those pieces, the workings together, the breadcrumbs of everything. Yeah. So we're not just going, well, this is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get an app that sends a tip and it goes here. It's what happens again, everything in the middle, and how do we do that at the back end? Someone that can write all of that information. Mm-hmm. And then that was my core team. And then someone that understood finance. Mm-hmm. And then me with the ideas. So that's where I started, and then kind of going on from there.
Great, so getting the right kind of team together with all these skills.
Yeah, and I think if I didn't have those key players, especially those key players are Kate and Bethan, mm-hmm. we wouldn't be where we are now. Yeah. There's no way.
They're absolutely fantastic.
We would have been introduced to you, and that's how it works, isn't it? Yeah. That's where the introductions work, when you know reliable people that are good at what they do and they're true to their word, and mm-hmm. that's kind of how we've got there. So
we'd worked with Bethan previously.
You have, yeah.
So we had a great relationship with her, but she's absolutely fantastic at what she does.
She's brilliant at what she does, yeah. And she's not going anywhere. So it's funny actually, I had so previous to URocked, I did a lot of consultancy on business, on reducing costs and various other, again, simple web development, front end stuff. And I had a client that's got a slight issue with software at the moment, and the developers that they've used. And I said, okay, well, I'll have a chat with you, but I don't know if there's anything I can do. And I had Bethan on the call. And after that call, he said, what is Bethan to you? Is she looking for work? They were that impressed they wanted to take her, so she's not going anywhere. And that's where you get the core team that are, that put their heart and soul into this and believe in this project, and like I do, and have the vision to move it forward. I mean, they're irreplaceable. You cannot let them go anywhere. Yeah. And I believe that they're here for the long term. So you have to look after them at the beginning as well. Yeah.
Is that kind of support, drive, ambition, belief?
It's everything. It's everything. It's even you're with them more than you are at home. And at the moment, we're all remote. Bethan's in Sheffield, Kate's in Wales, I'm in Leicestershire. But we spend a lot of time on Teams, and sometimes or Zoom. Sometimes we're not even talking. We've just all got our cameras on, and we're sat there working to get that bit of still normality, like that background chat going on, because it's lonely when you're working on your own. COVID has been great in so many ways, whereas normally pre-COVID, if I'd have started this business, I'd have gone, I want an office, I want everyone working close by, I want them coming into the office. That's the norm, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas this kind of took you out your comfort zone and go, well, nobody can come to the office. So again, you can recruit the best minds from wherever they are. It doesn't really matter. Eventually we've got an office, it's a small office, and we will have people internally because we still have customer service, admin and finance, and so that office presence is growing, but that doesn't stop us also having a slight remote team as well, where we go every 2 weeks, if everyone can come into the office, and you still feel that kind of family, I suppose, and team, rather than it's difficult being sat at home 24/7, and where you're working at home, then you're having lunch at home, then your kids come home, then you're having dinner at home, then you're going to bed, then you're getting up, you're working at home. You never leave your house. You don't barely walk to the car. You sit there, you eat your food on your desk, you do this. You don't have time for yourself. And I think especially with COVID again, everyone's learned that they need that time away, whether it's, and even on their own, they need time to think, refresh, walk.
Yeah.
You don't get that if you're stuck in the house 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Yeah, definitely not.
We've got used to it, but it's not good for us.
Not forever, right? Yeah. So you took the rest, started URocked, and then it was all at home. It was all, you know, loneliness working at home, but also you got your team remote.
Yeah.
How did
I never met them. I never met them face to face.
Wow.
So it's just all on Zooms. Beth and I had met face to face previously, a couple of, probably a year or so prior through another company. But Kate, I'd never met face to face. Even now, I've met Kate 3 times, I think, and she's been now working with URocked for nearly 2 years.
Wow, incredible.
So
yeah.
So we try and do it. So we did it just when one of the lockdowns finished last time. We all met up in London and we did a big team day and had a few drinks after, which was nice. And we recently did a show in London again. So obviously the team all got together then. But it's been, with COVID again, it's been kind of locked down, closed. It's not like you haven't wanted to, but you just haven't been able to. So it's been a bit surreal. But it's, when you meet someone for the first time, you're always a bit nervous. It doesn't feel like that with anybody that we've worked with that's remote, because we've spent that much time with them on camera. It's you kind of got used to it. You've kind of got through that awkwardness of.
Yeah. The only thing I find strange, because we did the same with developers, that where we hired them, anywhere roughly around this area. So some of them I only met after like a year. I realised they were so much taller than I thought they were going to be. Because you can't tell in the video at all what it's like. But that's great. So in terms of the starting all this from home and the family life, how did you balance it all? Because I mean, that's one place where I've definitely struggled. Starting Clear Sky back in 2018, it was non-COVID back then. Went into COVID. Now there's like homeschooling. My sons are kind of 6 and 3, and it was like really tough to be able to have an end of the day. Like I'm used to, I finish in Edinburgh, I got on the train. By the time I get to where I live, I'm back to being home with Darren.
It's difficult. URocked started in May, in terms of idea stage, April 2020. Just start COVID, I think.
Yeah, a few weeks after the lockdown.
April 2020. My wife was pregnant. So obviously, anyway, from what I was doing, consultancy-wise, was drying up a bit as well. But it was fine. I was able to concentrate on URocked, which was good. But I was still putting a lot of time, and I've got a son as well. At the time, would have been 3.5. So I'm juggling that. Juggling with my wife being pregnant as well, but also trying to start this new business up and, learn, understand how much money it's going to need, what am I going to do. I've never done something to this scale. So it's a lot of stress that I went through. Then my wife was due our baby, should I say, November the 6th. I had a heart attack in end of October. I don't know if you know this.
No way, really?
Yeah. Just a minor one, but 7 days before my child was born.
I think they all count as well, right?
Yeah. Was that caused by stress? Was it caused by, I don't know, the virus when I didn't know I had it?
Yeah.
Luckily it didn't do any damage. Okay. So I'm fine. I've been given the clean bill of health now.
Okay.
But
so what happened? Were you working at the time?
I was unloading the dishwasher, funny enough. So I knew I shouldn't have done it.
Wow.
And I was unloading it, and I just suddenly said to my wife, my chest hurts a bit. I think I've just pulled something in my arm. Oh. And then about 5 minutes later, I said, I'm just going to go upstairs, and just had to lie down. And then she came up, and I said, it really hurts. My jaw hurts as well. And then she said, I said, can I have some paracetamol? And I never take painkillers, don't take drugs, really, unless something's really, and it's a bit odd for you to say you've pulled something. And I was like, it's a bit dodgy. And she said, I'm going to phone 111. And she then explained the symptoms to them. They said, well, let's get an ambulance there straight away.
Wow.
So being 34 years old, taken off in an ambulance with a child, one on the way, that's scary times.
Yeah.
So that was pretty stressful.
So just a few weeks before the baby was due?
7 days.
Oh, 7 weeks. Yeah, 7 days. Wow.
7 days, yeah. So I was in hospital for a few days, and it got to the point where they were still doing tests, but everything was limited because of COVID. At this time, it was really starting to blow up. So you weren't allowed visitors. So I was in there on my own. I've never stayed in a hospital before. Everything was more reduced. You know, there was testing. It was quite scary, actually, at that time. There's testing everywhere. There's the clinical side and the hygiene side was like something out of Aliens, or, you know, just Contagion, I suppose, was the movie I'm thinking about. And it got to a point where I knew I was okay. I knew I wasn't going to die while I was there. They'd done all their major checks, but they said there's a slight issue we're finding on one of their heart monitors. So we need you to have an angiogram. So they did that, and there's no damage to the heart, so we're happy about it. But there is some swelling, so they believed it was potentially caused by viral myocarditis.
Right.
And I said to them then, what's the like? They said, but we need to do some further investigations. I said, I just want to get home. And they said, well, we can't let you go yet because we haven't done any of these tests. And I said, what's the likelihood? I said, I'm having a baby now in 4 days. This is an elective cesarean. So I know the baby's coming, right? I can't be here. My wife's, you know, huge at this point, and I've still got my son at home as well.
3-year-old.
And COVID, so we're not allowed to have any help.
Yeah,
right?
bubbles, yeah.
So I need to go home. What's the likelihood of me dying? And they said, well, we think you'll be all right. I said, that's good enough for me. Just discharge me. And they said, okay, we need to get a consultant to agree to put you on outpatients care. So that's what they did. And then it was a bit scary then, actually, because then they said, okay, but you can't do this and you can't do that just in case. But I feel like we've gone a bit off piste here, actually, about your question.
Don't worry about it.
You can't do this, can't do that. An outpatients team will be in contact to do the further scans. So that was the risk I took. And then the scans, obviously, they just kept getting cancelled and cancelled and cancelled. And then eventually you get them and you do one and they go, I'm not too sure, there's still something a bit. Yeah. And then you go for the next one and then someone else diagnoses it. And then, what are we at? So I think it was January this year, I think it was the last one I had. Okay. And they said, that's what, everything's back to normal.
Everything's fine again?
Yeah.
Wow.
So it did. They believe it was a virus that started it all off because it had an effect on my kidneys, liver, various other organs.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's some start.
So
the baby came and baby's all good.
The baby came, baby's fine. But trying to set up a business through a pandemic with health problems at the time, expecting our second child, and trying to fundraise as well, it's tough, it's scary, and the stress of that. So it's nothing like I've ever experienced before in my life.
Yeah, it'll build up a hell of a resilience.
It does build up resilience. But again, I think if this was one of the other businesses, like one of the online retailers or trade association, I'd just thrown the towel in. But I've had so much passion for URocked and belief in, not just as a business, that it can work and be a viable product and, build a good future for myself, the family, everyone involved in URocked, our investors, but also, to have that movement and change, positive change for the workers that are using it, increase their tips so they're happier. But the businesses that implement URocked, they're reducing their costs. But then for every tip sent on our platform as well, we also give a micro donation to charity. So if you tip someone, you're actually helping somebody else at the same time as well. So you've got that positive impact happening twice.
Great.
So not just the person that's receiving the tip, thanks very much, but you're helping hunger or food charity as well at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same. I'm passionate about the movement that could be behind it. Yeah. How many single mums, dads, people struggling aren't getting tips now where they would have had it previously. Yeah. And imagine the effect that could have on their life and their kids' lives and everything. We need to get the solution out fast.
Yeah, and I think the timing for us, we've been lucky. Okay, successful businesses, and I've read lots of books and listened to podcasts, and that's kind of how I've got my learnings over the years. It's never just a great business. Lots of people that have great ideas, right? And there's lots of people that have had great ideas, set the business up, and it hasn't worked for one reason or another. Timing, maybe they were too advanced for the timing where we are. If we had tried URocked 3 years ago, it would have failed. For a couple of reasons. First one is QR codes. Everyone had seen QR codes. They didn't know what to do with them.
Yeah, certainly not trusting of them.
No, the technology that we had, you had to download third-party apps to scan a QR code, so it didn't work.
Yeah.
COVID has accelerated that, and obviously to send a tip using URocked, you either use QR code or NFC technology. NFC is pretty cool. But the QR code, because everybody now knows about it, it's not scary. People use it. The timing that we've had, so that's the timing in terms of the government publishing reports and saying, we're going to make it law that no employer can take tips off staff or service charge. 100% of that tip has to go to the staff member, or they face going to employment tribunals. That for us has accelerated us because now businesses are saying, well, hang on a minute. And I don't agree with businesses taking tips off staff, but I also understand from a business point of view, they're also going, well, if I'm taking tips and I'm paying the merchant service charge, or have to run the software that, does the admin for these tips and works, there's a cost to me. Why am I going to bother taking tips? Why am I going to let my staff take tips? And that's purely then a business decision that they make. I would say that you don't have to use URocked. You don't have to use our competitors out there. But still let your staff take tips. Whatever you do, let your staff take tips. So even if you're paying, a smaller business is a lot more difficult, but the larger businesses, even if it's costing you, I don't know, let's pull a figure, £10,000 a month, but you're turning over £1 million a month, right? Let your staff take tips, because not only is it rewarding your staff, but by allowing your staff to take tips, there's a better customer service element to it. Your staff members know they can earn more money, which means they're going to be nicer to your clients, your customers, which means you're going to get better reviews, which means more people are going to come back.
Yeah.
So it's actually increasing your revenue and turnover potentially and decreasing it.
Yeah. And brand impact and that sort of thing as well.
Huge,
It's huge, right?
But then I still think there's going to be that element of trust when this bill actually gets passed as law. I think as a customer, and we've done lots of research, they would prefer that it was a third party independent in the middle. They then 100% know that that tip is going to that customer.
I think it's good as well, just the empowerment of the worker. Yeah. Again, not the middleman as it used to be. So what's next for URocked? What's the next big plan?
So at the moment we're at a pilot stage. Next is a national rollout with our team tips. That's kind of where we've been holding off at the moment. Of any software at the beginning, it was how to build a product at a fast state where we can test it and test it to the market to make sure it works. And that was kind of what we class as solo tipping, one-to-one tipping, which works great in hair salons and for buskers and people like that. But within hospitality, where tipping is a core business and a norm, lots of tips within those industries are split. So next rollout is our national rollout with the team tips attached to it. And then it's further development with devices that we'll use and various things, charity element to it, as in using the same technology, but in order to do charitable donations. And then hopefully to different markets internationally.
Fantastic, exciting stuff. Yeah. So if I'm a business, or if I'm a service provider listening to this podcast, what do I do? I like the idea. I want to get in touch. What's the best?
So you get in touch with URocked as a business owner. We would just run you through it, tell you how it works, and set your staff up for it. If you're,
is there any charge for that?
No, it's completely free of charge. So URocked makes its money a bit like Uber, Deliveroo. We charge a service fee to the person sending the tip.
Okay.
We've already taken over 2,500 tips on our platform in our pilot stage in just over 2.5 months. And we haven't had any complaints on the service fee. We believe that, again, through COVID and deliveries, people are used to paying service charges, postage and packaging and stuff like that. If I'm giving a £5 tips, I'm happy to pay 35p, knowing that person's going to get the £5.
Exactly. Yeah.
Plus a percentage of that 35p goes to charity, like I said. And from a business owner's point of view, why would I not? It's not costing me anything. And again, like I said, it improves the customer service of staff. So even businesses that haven't previously been allowing tips on credit cards and saying, you can only use cash because I can't afford to use these expensive trunk systems and other systems or integrated systems within our business, there's now a business or a solution for them to use within their establishments.
How long does it take to set up, would you say?
About 3 minutes.
No way.
3 minutes, yeah. Right. 3 minutes. So from the start of registering on the platform, going through the checks, to having a QR code, 3 minutes.
Fantastic, right? What about the service worker? Say if I'm a hairdresser or anything like that, can I do something about getting involved in this?
It's exactly the same. Right. So you go onto the platform, you register yourself, you run through some quick security checks, a bit like you did when you're on a Monzo bank account, to make sure it is you that we're sending the money to from the person that's tipped. It doesn't do credit checks or anything like that, but it just makes sure that our app's not being used for crime. For somebody to send a tip, they don't need to register on the platform. So that was one of the biggest things for us, is how do we make this as simple as possible for somebody if they're in a restaurant where they're going, I can't be bothered to do that, I've now got to download an app. Yeah. You don't need to download an app, so it's a guest checkout experience. You can send a tip in under 10 seconds. Fantastic. Using your Apple Pay, Google Pay, even scanning your debit cards, just from either tapping on an NFC touch point or scanning a QR code.
Great, so a win-win for everyone involved.
It is a win-win for everyone involved.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Right, well, thanks for coming on the podcast.
No problem. Thank you for having me.